Hey guys, welcome back to Craig's YouTube horror channel, one of the new horror channels on YouTube, and if this is your first time here then please hit that subscribe button and help us to grow this channel. Okay, so around 4 weeks ago I put up a small non-spoiler movie review of Scream 5 and I will admit I was really tired in that video. If you saw it then you will know that I was really confused about how I felt after watching Scream 5 for the first time. I felt like something in the movie was missing, but I wasn't sure. I just was basically, I was going to go and watch it again and then come back and do a better review video, and this review video will have spoilers, so if you haven't seen Scream 5 yet and don't like spoilers then I wouldn't watch this video any further. Okay, let's talk about the opening scene. I thought this movie had a great opening. I mean, a lot of it was shown in the trailer, but I still enjoyed it. I love the part where the killer is asking Tara about her favourite scary movie and she ends up answering by saying Babadook and going on to say that it's elevated horror. It actually made me feel really old when she said this because it did kind of make sense, as the next generation of horror fans would be more into the horror films that's been released within the last 10 years or more, unlike the 80s classics that I like. I also loved Tara's character. The actress who plays her is amazing. I remember seeing her in the Netflix TV show You, so I was already a fan of Jenna Ortega before this movie. Anyway, what was interesting about this opening scene was the use of video recording and phone cloning that the killer was using to torment Tara. The killer then does some movie trivia with Tara, where the killer asks her questions about the Stab movies, which I thought was a nice little callback. And it was interesting to see Tara trying to answer the questions that we all knew the answers to, but she ended up having to Google the answers. But I think the most surprising part of the opening scene is that this is the first time in any Scream movie that the first victim actually survives the attack. Yep. Tara takes a brutal attack from Ghostface, but she actually survives. Like I said, it's a first in any Scream movie. But let's talk about some of the death scenes, because there were 2 death scenes where I think it was supposed to really shock the audience, and these 2 deaths that I'm talking about are of Dewey and Judy. Now, I was surprisingly more shocked about Judy's death scene than Dewey's. I kind of had a feeling very early on in the film that Dewey was going to die, just because of the way his character was written, because when Samantha and her boyfriend Richie go to see Dewey is living off grid and he's pretty much let himself go after breaking up with his wife Gail, and he's no longer the sheriff, and it was just really sad to see Dewey in this state. However, I suppose it's understandable because at one point in the movie he does tell Samantha and Richie that he's been stabbed like 9 times over the years with permanent nerve damage and other problems, and you can see just how much this has taken a toll on Dewey over the years. Looking back at the movie, I love how Dewey guessed who one of the killers was straight away. But after seeing Dewey in this state, I knew he wasn't going to survive the movie. It was just a matter of how and when. And honestly, I thought he was going to die saving either Gail or Sydney. But he actually died saving Tara during that hospital scene, which I was quite surprised at when it first happened. I knew it was going to happen, but I just had this gut feeling the whole time that this was going to be the final film for Dewey. It was quite sad when it happened, but I do kind of wish that he had died trying to save the love of his life, Gail Weathers. The other death which actually did shock me more than Dewey's death was Judy, who is now the sheriff in this movie. Now, I love Judy in Scream 4, so I was over the moon when I saw her pop back up in Scream 5, and not only that, but she also has a son called Wes, who I thought was also a great addition to the movie. But unfortunately, Wes and Judy's time in the movie was cut short when they were both killed off. I couldn't actually believe it when it happened. Maybe I wasn't so shocked at Wes's death, but Judy, I thought it was such a shame that they killed her off. I mean, it happened at about 35 minutes into the movie. If they were going to kill off Judy, it's a shame that they didn't do it in the final act. I would have loved for Judy and Gale to at least have some screen time together. For me personally, it would have been better if Wes had been killed. Judy then comes back and finds his body, which would have been devastating for Judy, and Judy would have been hell-bent in revenge in finding the killer. I don't know whether if the actress wasn't available for the whole filming schedule or what, but it was just a shame her time in this movie was short-lived. But yeah, I actually found Judy's death scene a lot more shocking and surprising than Dewey's. A great moment in this movie was the return of Billy Loomis as a ghost or as a vision, taunting his daughter Samantha. I thought it was a really nice touch, and it brought the history of Scream into the modern world of this new movie. Now, there were two new characters in this movie who I absolutely loved, and that was the twins, Chad and Mindy. Their uncle was Randy, and I instantly just loved these characters. In my opinion, they were genuinely interesting and funny and just a great addition. I'm so glad that they both survived their attacks, and I loved it towards the end of the movie when Mindy's being brought out on a stretcher and she does a little thumbs up to her brother Chad in the distance, who is in the back of an ambulance, and he gives her the thumbs up back. I really hope they are back for Scream 6 if it gets the green light. Okay, let's talk about the killers. So of course we had two killers, Richie and Amber. Now, I wasn't that shocked at the Amber reveal, however I was shocked at the Richie reveal. Now let me quickly start with Amber. Amber is the overprotective friend of Tara, and I found her to be a little bit over the top from the get-go. For the most part of the second act in this movie, Amber was barely seen. She was mentioned in conversations within the movie, but I don't actually remember seeing her character in the second half, at least not that much, not until we get to Act 3, where we learn that Amber is living in the original murder house from Scream 1, and as soon as I saw this house, I knew Amber was going to be at least one of the killers. Now, when it came to the actual Amber killer reveal, I was massively disappointed. After Mindy is attacked by Ghostface, she is saved by Samantha. Amber, Tara, Liv and Richie, they all arrive in the room and they start freaking out and they all start blaming each other as the killer. And when Amber accuses Liv of being the killer, Liv protests her innocence by saying that she's not the killer. Amber then lifts up her gun and says, "I know," and then she shoots Liv in the head and announces to everyone, "Welcome to Act 3. I thought it was a rubbish reveal. There was no build-up, and it just kind of felt a little bit like a scene from the Final Destination movies. I can remember when I first saw this scene in the cinema, I was like, oh, is that it? I wasn't shocked at all, and I was majorly disappointed by this reveal. However, with the Richie reveal, I was a lot more satisfied. So, Sydney is in the murder house and she ends up shooting Richie in the leg because he's hiding in a cupboard. When Sydney opens the door, Richie puts on a great act saying that he's hiding, he's terrified, he's scared, and then Amber, dressed up as Ghostface, attacks Sydney, and they end up falling over the balcony stairs. Richie then hops down the stairs, and even Sydney at this point trusts Richie because she actually shouts out to him, "Hurry up and grab the gun, Richie." Samantha ends up on the scene and grabs the gun just in time, and as Richie gets to the bottom of the stairs, he tells Sam that he's glad she's okay, but then he stabs her, saying that he really wanted to be the one to kill her. It's very shocking, and I was like, yes, this is what I love about Scream. So the whole Amber reveal thing is forgotten about once Richie is revealed as the second killer. I was genuinely surprised because I thought Richie was a genuine character and a genuine boyfriend to Sam, and we were led to believe throughout the film that he has never seen the stab movies and he doesn't even like horror films to begin with. It seems so obvious when I talk about it like this, but honestly I thought he was one of the few good guys in the movie. The motive of these murders was a little bit bland in my opinion. I mean, Richie and Amber, they wanted to give Hollywood some fresh ideas for the stab movies because apparently they think that they're totally out of ideas. I thought it was a little bit of a lame motive, but hey ho, I can roll with it, it's fine. And Richie then ends up telling Sam that they are going to frame her for the murders because she is the daughter of serial killer Billy Loomis. There are some great final showdowns in this movie, but I think my favourite moment is definitely Amber's death scene. In fact, I think Amber's death scene might be my favourite death scene of all time in all of the 5 Scream movies. Amber has a big fight scene with Gale after Amber tells Gale that Dewey died like a pussy. And literally it turns into a free-for-all fight between Gale, Sidney and Amber in the kitchen. Gale then manages to get the gun and points it at Amber, and at this point Amber's then like pleading with Gale and telling her that she's sorry about Dewey, and then Gale just says fuck you and shoots Amber 3 times. Amber then flies against the already lit gas cooker, and it's at this point she bursts into flames and turns into a ball of fire, running around the kitchen screaming until she falls to the floor in flames. And I loved Sidney's face when Amber is on fire. I mean, Sidney isn't phased at all. She's kind of like pulling that face where she's saying, oh, that's gonna hurt. We then have the final showdown between Richie and Samantha, which I also enjoyed. Sam and Richie, they end up having a bit of a fight on top of the landing, and then Sam goes tumbling down the stairs. Richie then has the gun and he starts taunting Sam, who is trying to wriggle across the floor. She ends up looking up at a mirror and she sees her dead father, Billy Loomis, and he's nodding down towards a knife, which Sam ends up grabbing just before Richie gets on top of her. Sam then delivers the best line from the whole movie: never fuck with the daughter of a serial killer. And Sam then plunges the knife straight through Richie's face, and I mean, this knife goes in through one cheek and out the other. Sam then jumps on top of Richie and literally stabs the hell out of him, delivering a ton of stabs all over his body, and she literally just doesn't stop. Richie then eventually says something like, what about my ending? And then Sam says, here it comes. She then slices open his throat and kills him. It was extremely brutal and bloody, but I loved it. In a bizarre sort of way, Billy Loomis became the hero. Well, at least he was Samantha's hero in this movie. It does beg the question though, now that Sam has killed, will she now get a taste for it in future movies? Something that I was disappointed with was the fact that they didn't bring back Kirby from Scream 4. Now, on my first watching of Scream 5, I didn't realise there was a cheeky little Easter egg in the movie. In fact, I didn't know that Scream 5 had actually revealed the fate of Kirby until I saw a video on YouTube from the Critical Overload channel, where they put a video up showing that in the Scream 5 movie, there was a scene where Richie was watching stab clips, and underneath in his recommendations, it showed a video titled Interview with Woodsboro survivor Kirby Reed. So massive shout out to Critical Overload for making this video, because I totally missed it in my first showing of Scream 5. And when I watched Scream 5 for the second time, I saw it. I kept my eye out for it. So Kirby did actually survive her attack in Scream 4, which I am very, very happy about, because Kirby was literally my new favourite character. This also gives me hopes that maybe Kirby will return in Scream 6 if they do end up making one. Okay, so here is my final verdict on this movie. When I first saw it in the cinema, I wasn't 100% sure if I liked it or not. I mean, I know I kind of did like it, but I wasn't sure if I loved it. The problem with movies like Scream and other horror movies is they get a lot of hype before they are released. I mean, look at the Halloween films, for example. And sometimes it can backfire. After watching Scream 5 for the second time, I will admit I did enjoy it more. I enjoyed it more the second time because I was able to absorb it a lot more, and there were parts that I think I might have missed during the first showing. It has its amazing moments and its little bit of bad moments, but does that make Scream 5 a bad movie? Hell no. It's a great addition to the Scream world. There were some fantastic new characters brought in who I'm really glad survived. There were some brilliant kills and some genuinely shocking moments. I didn't find this movie predictable either, which is what maybe makes this Scream movie unique in its own way. I know there are people out there who were disappointed by Scream 5 due to the lack of Dewey, Gale and Sidney. However, in my opinion, the balance with the original cast and the new cast was perfect. If the new cast members were shit with no likability towards them, then I would agree, but most of the new characters were fantastic in my opinion. So the big questions: is it worth going to the cinema to watch Scream 5? Hell yes. If you haven't already gone to the cinema to watch this movie, then you really need to go and buy yourself some tickets immediately. Trust me, it's worth it. Will I be buying Scream 5 on Blu-ray when it's released? 100% yes. Scream 5 will definitely be joining my Blu-ray collection. So the main things that I didn't like in this movie are Judy's death scene so early on in the movie. I wish she'd at least made it to the final act. Liv's character. I found her to be quite annoying. I don't know what it was, but she just did my head in. She was the only new character that I really didn't like, and I'm glad she was killed off. The lack of Amber in the movie. She was literally barely seen on screen for the second half. Amber's killer reveal, there was no build up. It felt very Final Destination-y to me and not so much Scream. I didn't like Dewey living off grid and becoming the person that he had become. It just made me feel really sad. And of course, they didn't bring Kirby back, so I was a little bit disappointed with this, but happy with the Easter egg. The main things that I loved, well, the opening scene was amazing. I love the new characters, Richie, the twins, Sam, Tara and Amber, and even Wes. All great new additions, even though Wes was short-lived. Amber's death scene, literally I think it is my all-time favourite death scene in all the Scream films. Sam's killer line and killing Richie, it was brutal but brilliant. I love the fact that they brought back the original murder house from Scream 1, and I love the fact they brought back some music as well from Scream 1 and Scream 2. And of course I loved how the characters were connected to the original cast and the return of Billy Loomis. A lot of people have said that Scream 5 is the best movie since the original, and I am 50-50 on that one. I still love Scream 2 and I also loved Scream 4, however I also love Scream 5. It felt authentic, it went back to basics, and it incorporated a lot of history from the original film to the modern day. Is it the best one though since Scream 1? Again, I'm 50-50 on that one. I'm so glad I went back to the cinema to see this for a second time because it literally made me fall in love with this film. It's a brilliant movie and any Scream fan needs to go and see it. So guys, that is my full honest spoiler review of Scream 5. Let me know what you think about my opinions on this movie, and let me know if you share similar things that I do. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments box below. Okay guys, well thank you all for watching, make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe, and I'll see you all again very soon.